Hello everyone. You know that one of the most important skills in chess is to know how to create the best plan. You know that saying that it's better to have a bad plan rather than none. So creating the plan is something that every player needs to do. And in that video, I'm going to explain you the 10-step process. How can you create the best plan? My process is based on the famous Kotov's book, Think Like a Grandmaster. Of course, I modernize it a little bit. But before we start, I just want to invite you to visit my website, createthebestplan.matbobula.com, where you can get completely for free a guide that will help you understand how to create the best plan. And also one last remark in the end, I want to focus on practical application. I don't want to talk too much about the theory. Of course, some theory is important, but I would rather focus on practical application of that process. So minimum theory, maximum practical explanation. Let's start maybe with a short theoretical background, because of course you need to know some theory about how to create the best plan. And you can see that the whole process is divided into 3 segments. One, you have to evaluate the position. You just need to know what is going on the board. Later, based on that, you are able to describe by words what's your plan. So this is like the next segment. And in the end, once you know what are you going to do, you are able to calculate to find the best move that will suit the plan, and that is based on the evaluation. But let's start from the beginning. First, second, third, and fourth steps are evaluation. So, couple words. First of all, material. You have to analyze who is up on the material, and usually, of course, the side who has got more material, that side has got the advantage. Later, you have to focus on the king's position. So you have to decide who has got more safe king, because this is the reason why we make a castle. We're supposed to make a castle at the very beginning of the game, in the opening, because we want to keep our king safe. So if king still remains in the center or castle is not very safe, this is definitely a disadvantage. But one remark here, you just need to know that as the king safety is very important in the middle game, in the end game, where there are not that many pieces left on the board, and opponent's pieces that cannot create that many problems to the king, you should focus on the king's activity. So you should consider who has got more active king if it's the end game, right? Because you know that this is one of the basic principles in the end game. Activate your king, move your king to the center. So in the middle game, king safety. In the end game, analyze king's activity. After that, we have to analyze the pawn structure. When it comes to the pawn structure, you just have to analyze pawn by a pawn, what are the advantages and disadvantages. And when it comes to pawns, there are 5 disadvantages, 5 pawn weaknesses, which are isolated pawns, doubled pawns, backward pawns, hanging pawns, and overextended pawns. Or we have got 2 pawn advantages, 2 strengths connected to the pawns, which can be pass pawn, it can be also pawn majority. So you analyze who has got more advantages and less weaknesses in the pawn structure. And finally, we go into the piece activity. So we have to decide which side has got more active pieces. And usually, what does it mean that the piece is more active? It usually means that piece has got more opportunities, more options to move. So for example, if bishop, imagine empty board, and bishop is at the e4 square. So bishop can move into 4 different directions. In total, it can move into 13 squares. And imagine same bishop at the h8 in the corner. It can move only one direction on the long diagonal, and it can move only to 7 squares. So bishop that is in the center and has got more opportunities to move is usually more active. So you have to analyze all of your pieces, all of your opponent's pieces, and decide who has got more active pieces. And in the end of the evaluation, you can also make a short summary. So you can say that my advantages are, and you mention what are your advantages. My opponent's advantages are, you mention most important advantages for the opponent. So once you evaluated the position and you know what are your advantages and disadvantages, you are able to create a plan. And you just need to answer two questions when it comes to the plan. First of all, whether you attack or defend. And you need to know that if you have got better position, I mean you have got more advantages than the opponent, usually you should attack. According to the first world chess champion, Wilhelm Steinitz, famous fundamental, he created, the whole series of fundamentals, and there is the one that is very famous, and it says that the side who has got the advantage has to attack. In the other case, that side is going to lose the advantage. So if you have got more advantages than disadvantages, you should focus on the attack. And if in case, of course, your opponent has got the advantage, probably you should think more on defending. Okay, and later, once you know what plan are you going to pick, you have to decide in what area. So you have to decide whether you are doing something on the queen side, center, or king side. So for example, if you see that opponent has got weak isolated pawn at the b3, and you have got more active pieces on the queen side as well, so those are like two very powerful advantages, then of course your plan should be attack on the queen side, right? If you realize that most of your advantages are on the king side, focus there. If, for example, you realize that your opponent has got big advantages in the center, then probably you should defend in the middle. And one remark here about planning. Sometimes you can say that, for example, I'm attacking on the queen side and I'm defending on the king side. And if you see that more advantages are, you have got more advantages in one area, opponent has got more advantages in another area. It very often happens if there are opposite side castles, and that there is some kind of a race whose attack is gonna be faster. Of course, you can describe by words a little bit more. What are you going to do? You can describe, in the step 1, I'm going to do this. In the step 2, I'm going to do this, and so on. But like a minimum thing you just need to mention is whether you attack or defend, and in what area, queen side, center, or the king side. Okay, and once you know what is your plan that you created based, of course, on the evaluation, you are able to go into the calculation. So steps from 7 till 10, you should focus on the calculation. And calculation, it's like about finding the exact move that will suit your plan. So at the beginning of the calculation, you should pick couple candidate moves. And by a couple, I mean like usually 2 or 3 candidate moves. You have to pick more than one because you need to be able to compare different options. But it's also not a good idea to pick 5 or 6 because it's too time consuming. So this is the reason why I usually recommend to pick 2 or 3 candidate moves. And don't reject any moves. There are no bad candidate moves. But of course you have to pick them. You have to pick moves connected to your plan. So if you decided to attack in the center, try to pick some moves like, rook e1 or rook d1 or something that is connected to the center, to attacking the center. You cannot say I'm attacking in the center and I consider h3. This because it's not consistent. So pick 2 or 3 candidate moves at the beginning. Once you pick them, later you have to calculate them. So you just go move by a move and you analyze what's going to happen after first candidate move. And 2 very important things. First of all, minimum length of that variation when you're calculating should be 1.5 move. And of course you can do longer, but this is minimum length. So I mean that you should calculate at least your move, your opponent's move, and your move again. Always end calculation on your own move. And in the end of such a variation, you have to judge it. So you have to say that white is slightly better or black has got a big advantage. You just need to judge every move, because later it will be much easier to compare moves. You will just compare final evaluations of the position. And once you calculate your first candidate moves, first 2 or 3 candidate moves, and you are able to judge every move, later you have to ask yourself question, are there any new ideas that I should consider? Because very often when you're calculating, there are new moves that are coming to your mind. Not always, but it happens quite often. So you just need to ask yourself question, do I miss any candidate move that is worth to consider or not? And if there is something, you just calculate it. And in the end, once you calculated your original candidate moves, you consider some new ideas, and you judged every move, of course, you are able to make a final decision. And very important thing, always pick the move with the best final evaluation, right? Because this is the move, that move is the best. Let's take a look how does that process work in practice. And this is my game. I was playing black here against Nepo. It was some time ago. I think it was 2001 in European Junior Championships. And this is the position that appeared on the board right after the opening. So let's take a look here what white can think, what white should think in this position. So let's start with evaluating the position. So first thing, material. Material is equal. King safety, we consider king safety because this is a middle game. So both kings are safe, so it's equal. Pawn structure. Okay, you can see that black hasn't got any weaknesses in the position, but white has got 2 very strong pawns, very active pawns in the middle. So white has got better pawn structure here. And now let's take a look at the pieces activity. And now you can see that white's pieces, they have got more possibilities. You can see that bishop is more active, and bishop is more active than mine. You can see also my queen is a little bit restricted comparing to white's queen. Knight is also better. That knight also looks like it has got more possibilities. Same with rooks. So white has got more active pieces in general. So to sum up, white has got very strong pawns in the center, and white pieces are also more active. So this is the evaluation. White is leading 2-0. So now let's take a look at the plan. So of course, first question, attack or defend? Of course, the answer is attack. In what area? Most of the white advantages are in the center, so probably attack should be in the center, right? So this is like a very simple decision if you do the evaluation correctly. And now let's go into the calculation. So let's pick some candidate moves connected to the attack in the center. So let's say knight goes to e5, let's say rook e1. Those are first 2 candidate moves. Let's start with maybe rook e1. Rook e1, probably black plays bishop b4. White doesn't want to go back, so let's say white plays knight d2. And white is slightly better, but only very, very slightly. Okay, let's consider another candidate move, which was knight e5. Probably black plays c5. Pawn captures, bishop captures, and strong central pawn from d4 disappeared. Black also improved position of their pieces, so probably position is equal. Okay, so out of those 2 moves, rook fe1 is better because it gives small advantage. But let's think, are there any other ideas that white can play if white wants to attack in the center? And for example, d5 might be also an interesting idea, because pawn cannot take it because bishop at e7 is hanging. So let's just take a look that white plays. This is a new idea that white should calculate. d5. Black most likely is going to play, let's say, rook e8. Pawn captures. Black probably plays bishop c5. Pawn captures at f7. Rook captures. And white can move queen away because queen will be attacked. So let's say queen c2. And white is up a pawn. Okay, black's pieces are not that terrible, but material is very important, so white is up a pawn. So out of those three options, knight e5 gives equal position, rook fe1 gives very small advantage, and d5 gives a clear advantage for white. So now it's a time to make a final decision, and the best move for white is d5, and this is the move that happened in the game. So this is like a whole process of thinking in practice. And I know that at the beginning it sounds very long, but if you practice that couple times or a couple hundred times rather, you will start doing you will do that much faster. I hope you understand now better how does the process should look like. Maybe one remark in the end is that you don't have to do that after every move. You should just follow that process in the critical moments. So critical moments are the moments that you have to decide what is your plan. You have to decide what to do. Usually in the chess game, in the standard chess game, there are 2 or 3 critical moments, and first critical moment happens usually right after the opening. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave the comment. Please click thumb up if you enjoy it, and please also do not forget to visit my website, createthebestplan.matbobula.com, and you can get completely for free a guide that will explain in more details how to create the best plan. Thank you very much, and hope to see you next time.